the mu'min is tested and so on. But today we're going to see it from different angle. Subhanallah, and this Khatera was shared with me, and it came in the right time. It was narrated that Imam Zamakhshari, do you know this man? Zamakhshari is one of the great mufassirin of the Quran, and his tafsir, one of the main tafsir, especially in the Arabic language, and it's called Al-Kashaf, his tafsir. Of course, he is Mu'tazili, and subhanallah, his leg was amputated, and he was asked, why? He said, when I was very young, I used to have a bird, and I tied that bird with a rope. And one time that bird wants to fly, and I pulled it, and what happened? Huh? His leg was cut off. And who saw me? My mother. And she was so angry, and she made dua on me. And she said, may Allah cut your legs the way you cut the leg of this bird. And he said, after a while, I was traveling, and I fall from the horse, and it was a lot of pain. Then they have to amputate my leg. Why I'm saying this? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, do not make dua on your children in the time of anger. And do not make dua on yourself, and do not make dua on your wealth. The three things that we mentioned yesterday, as we said, because you will be tested in these three areas. And this hadith in Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, do not make dua on these three things, especially in the time of anger. We don't control ourselves, because maybe the gate of heavens is open, and Allah will answer the dua. On the other hand, there is another scholar, subhanallah, Imam al-Razi. I know some of you may know him also. He has great tafsir, and he is very well-known scholar. He said, I was very young, and I went to the sheikh to recite the Quran. I can't. Then the sheikh, he told him, please, my son, go to your mother and tell her to make dua for you. And he said, I went to my mother and said, my mother, that's what happened, make dua for me. And subhanAllah, after a while, he became a great scholar. So please, when you are angry, instead making dua on your children, what you have to do? Allah yahdik ya ubada, mashallah. Or Allah yislah halak. May Allah reform you, may Allah guide you. Don't make the dua. And you know, there is another story in Sahih al-Bukhari about this worshipper. What's his name? Jurayj. Because his story, it involves one baby that he spoke in the cradle. He spoke in the womb of the mother. And he testified for Jurayj that he was innocent. And Jurayj, he was having his minaret where he worshiped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And who used to come visit him? His mom. And she bring food to him, and they talk and leave. So one day she came to visit him, and he was praying. Then she said, Ya Jurayj. Then he said, Ya Allah, my mom or my prayer? In this case, what do you do? Your prayer? Or your mom? Or none of the above? Okay. Think about it and let me know. So, he didn't answer. Then she called him the second time. Huh? He was praying sunnah or fard. Even in the fard, you can carry it, you know that. Imagine I'm praying the fard, and I heard there is a danger, so there is urgency, or there is emergency. You can stop and go and take care of that. But here, Sometimes you make your own judgment. But this is not the issue. The issue is the mother. So the third one, he didn't answer. He decided to go with his prayer. In the third one, she said, Ya Jurej, he didn't answer, and she made dua on him. And subhanAllah, sometimes when we are angry, we become expert in the dua. Yani, at least some dua like this, man, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you miss the lunch, something. But to tell him this dua, Allahumma la tumithu hatta yara wajha al-mumisat. Oh Allah, do not make him die until he sees the face of the wicked people, wicked women. And you know, he was accused and this and that. So please, my brothers and sisters, that's why in the time of anger, be careful. Be careful, be careful. Because the gate might be open. So if the gate is open, let's take advantage to make what? Dua for them. Or at least as Ubadah said, Allah yahdeek, may Allah guide you. Allah yislah halak, Allah. So please pay attention to that, inshallah. So it was a continuation. Otherwise, we're going to start a new topic. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to control ourselves in the time of anger. And may Allah, and what does it mean? Where the Prophet, the man asked him, Ya Rasulullah, give me advice. He said what? Don't be. What does it mean don't be angry? We're a human being. We're going to be angry. But mean control what? Your action and what you say, your deeds. You might not be able to control your feelings. That's okay. But you have to control your actions, especially if you are parents. What about the Prophet ﷺ? Because the Prophet is in the level of the father and the parents. النبي وينك أولى بالمؤمنين وأزواجه. If his wives, they are our mothers, he's our father, and he used to make dua on some Muslims. قاتلهم Allah, and this and that. So how we reconcile that? Because I want you to pay attention. Because if the Prophet is rahmatan lil alameen, if he's rahmah for the world, he's not going to be rahmah for his companions. But there is another hadith which he says, Ya Allah, sometimes I get angry and I make dua on people. Ya Allah, any dua that I make on any Muslim, make it rahmah for him, not a curse. So that's why you see people that the Prophet made dua on them, nothing happened to them. Because he said that and he knows that his dua is answered. Unless he made dua on the hypocrites and the dhalimeen and so on, that is mashallah. So please pay attention to that, my brothers and sisters. And sometimes I heard people making dua on themselves. Allah. And when it happens, it's going to be too late. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-afiyya fi dunya wal-akhirah. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-afwa wal-afiyya fi dinina wa dunyana wa ahlina wa malina. Allahumma astur awratina wa amin rawatina. اللهم احفظنا من بين أيدينا ومن خلفنا وعن أيماننا وعن شمائلنا ومن فوقنا ونعوذ بعظمتك أن نغتال من تحتنا يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث أصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا وشفاء من كل داء وشفاء من كل داء اشفنا واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد